Welcome to this audio-visual format production of Predator Nemesis, written by Gordon Rennie and illustrated by Colin MacNeil. Some water over here, please. Sure, no problem, sir. You little fool!
Hey, come here, you little brat!
It was an accident, sir.
I'll make you pay!
From the Journal of Captain Edward Soames, August 16th, 1896. I find London to be much changed since my last visit. Can it really be 10 years since I was last in England? The heat and oppressive nature of the atmosphere, a byproduct, they tell me, of our nation's industrial output, are near unbearable, and is almost enough to make one yearn for the monsoon rains of India again. Londoners themselves, though, have little changed, still only dimly aware of the events in the Empire, of which they are the centre, still more concerned with the tittle-tattle of gossip from Parliament or Palace, or the nonsense peddled by the new breed of yellow-press tabloids that had sprung up in the last few years. I myself had little time for such distraction. My army pension would have suited my means had I stayed in India, but here in London it would not even pay for the upkeep of my rented rooms in Bloomsbury. I had been home 2 weeks now, and had yet to find myself a suitable position. It was with some interest then that I read the telegram that arrived at my room only this morning. I must admit to a certain degree of anxious curiosity concerning this mysterious summons.
Captain Soames, I received an invitation by telegram to...
This way, sir. If you please, the committee are expecting you.
Even out in the colonies, the true nature of the organization now seeking my services was well known, even if its role in the affairs of state could never be openly acknowledged.
Captain Soames, Mycroft Holmes, capital to meet you, sir. Please take a seat. Cigar, perhaps?
Thank you, no. I must admit, Mr. Holmes, I'm sorry, but your name... Are you by any chance a relation of...
My younger brother. He occasionally undertakes certain services on behalf of the members of this committee. Regrettably, his freelance activities mean he's out of the country at the moment, which brings us to you, and the reasons we have asked you to be here today.
Your telegram mentioned a possible commission of employment. London seems to be full of nothing but unemployed ex-army officers. May I ask, gentlemen, why you chose to contact me?
Tell me, Captain Soames, how much do you know about this new series of killings in the East End? This murderer the periodicals are calling Spring-Heeled Jack.
Only what I've read in the papers. I believe some of the more lurid accounts claim that the Ripper himself has returned to his old haunts.
Mere journalistic fancy, I assure you. This information can never leave this room, but I promise you that the Ripper will never again return to trouble us. We here sought that long ago. No, sir. The killer currently stalking our city is something far more deadly than a mere prostitute-hating madman. London is the very heart of the Empire, Captain Soames. An empire such as the world has never seen before, encompassing an area 1/4 the size of the globe. An event, any event affecting this city has repercussions throughout that empire. It is the duty of this committee to ensure that nothing be permitted to threaten the stability of either this city or the empire it controls. Do I make myself clear, sire?
Perfectly, sir. but I still don't understand how
I have here before me a complete record of your overseas military career, Captain Soames. Active service in the Khyber Pass campaigns, a Victoria Cross for your bravery in the Madhpur Uprising. Most impressive. Your decision to resign your commission was indeed a loss to Her Majesty's Armed Services. We do not choose our agents lightly, Captain Soames. It is the belief of this committee that certain events you experienced in India make you the perfect man for the task we have in mind. We wish you to track down and deal with by any means necessary the killer known as Spring-Heeled Jack. In this affair, you have carte blanche, and the authority of both this committee and Her Britannic Majesty herself is behind you. No agency or servant of the Crown can stand in your way. Do you understand the power we have invested you with? Do you agree to undertake the commissions?
Gladly, sir. I don't pretend to understand affairs of state, but if the security of the Empire is at stake, then you leave me with little choice.
Capital! I knew you would not disappoint us. The details are already arranged. Our man there will provide you with everything you need. I shall stand by my original decision. He is the best man for the job. Besides, who else in all the Empire has more experience of such creatures than the gallant Captain Soames?
A commission from the Diogenes Club and a letter of authority to open all doors in front of me. The killer had struck again only last night, and so I immediately made my way to the scene of the slaughter. In Whitechapel, by far the most ill-farmed area of London, and home to much of the flotsam and jetsam of the Empire that is washed up here on the shores of the Father Thames.
Inspector Lestrade, Edward Soames, I have a letter of introduction here from...
I'm aware of the involvement of the gentleman you're representing, sir. Best not to mention any names in front of the ununiformed branch, eh? This way, sir, if you don't mind. I hope you haven't come here straight from your breakfast. Although I imagine you being a military man and all, you'd be used to the sight of a little blood. Never seen anything like it. Worse even than the Ripper killings, and they were bad enough. We get all sorts of savagery going on down here amongst your foreign types. Still, like I said, never seen anything like this before.
I have, years ago in India.
Ah, well, that would explain it, I imagine. An excitable sort, your average Eastern gentleman, capable of all kinds of savagery. During one of the uprisings, was it?
No, not during the uprisings. Something else. Something I have seen only once before, and hope never to see again. I have seen all I need to see, Inspector. Dispose of the cadavers as you wish, although I doubt they'll furnish you with any clues as to the identity of this killer you call Spring-Heeled Jack. You have my card. Your killer will strike again, and soon. Please contact me as soon as he does so. Until then, I bid you good day, sir.
Beg pardon, sir, but I haven't told you about our witness.
You have a witness to what happened here. The killer spared someone.
Yes, sir. A young Indian lad saw the whole thing. Of course, he's half terrified out of his mind and doesn't even speak a word of English. All he could keep saying was some damned nonsense Indian word. Hold on a tick, sir. I'm sure I've got it written down here somewhere. Ah, yes, here it is, here. Rakshasa. That was all he kept on saying. Rakshasa. Doesn't make a blind bit of sense to me, of course, but well, you being a colonial gentleman, I thought it might mean something more to you.
Of course, Lestrade wouldn't have understood its real meaning. How could he? But clearly others did. The members of the Diogenes Club, little of anything occurring in the Empire escapes their attention, but how much do they really know? And how much of this knowledge have they chosen to keep from me? Rakshasa, a race of man-eating demons that were banished from Nirvana by the Hindu god Vishnu. It is a word that I thought, that if I prayed to never again have cause to hear, a word that I thought belonged 15 years ago, half a world away, back there in India.
Corporal Macaulay, what's going on in here?
Don't rightly know, sir. It's the head Wallace from one of the outlying villages. They want to speak to an officer.
Soames, you speak the local lingo. Find out what these fellows are jabbering on about.
Something about a tiger. They say a tiger has been preying on the people of their village.
Tiger? Damned nonsense. There hasn't been a man-eater seen in these parts for years.
Beg pardon, sir, but I think there's something here you should see.
Well, I suppose that settles the matter. Damn all else to do here, and the monsoon season will be setting in soon. What about it, Soames? You game for a tiger hunt? The Brahmin, eh? The local holy man. What was that old fakir wanting?
He was warning us not to go out into the jungle. He says there isn't a tiger out there at all. He says it's some kind of a demon. Something called a Rakshasa.
By God, Soames, sometimes I think you'll go native on us and spend the rest of your days praying to some yellow-eyed monkey god idol in one of their temples. A demon indeed. Now there's a trophy head that would make a fine addition to the wall of the officer's mess.
We set out on our tiger hunt early the next morning. We were in fine spirits, welcoming any relief from the boredom of garrison duty. Perhaps I was the only one to notice the unusually quiet mood amongst our native guides, and I knew that Coma had had some trouble recruiting enough of them to accompany us on our expedition. Perhaps the ones that refused to come with us already knew what was waiting for us out there in the jungle.
Rakshasa! Rakshasa! Brown-skinned bastards! Get back here now, I say! This is all that Brahmin's doing. I'll have the old devil flogged for this when we get back.
Cromer!
For God's sake, kill it! Whatever it is!
The speed and sheer savagery of the thing was quite inhuman. Coma I had never much cared for. Rhodes I barely knew, but Nemesis!
Soames! Help me! Soames!
Nemesis and I had been at public school together. We graduated from the same officers' class at Sangsingham. He was my friend, and God help me, I abandoned him to that thing. The affair was hushed up. It wouldn't do for the colonials to know that the British Army was anything but invincible, but somehow the true facts of the case are known to the Diogenes Club. I spent the next 15 years trying to atone for my failure to save a friend. No campaign, no bloody colonial war was enough to make me forget what I had done. I won medals and honors, but the debt was still unpaid. We could learn much from our Indian subjects. The Hindu concept of karma, for example, that one accrues it both good and bad from the results of one's own actions throughout life. If that is true, then the burden of bad karma dragging on my soul must be a heavy one indeed. Now I know why the members of the Diogenes Club sought me out for their commission. I have been given a second chance to atone for the events of the past. Fate, kismet, karma. Call it what you want. My enemy, my nemesis, is here in this city. The demons of my past have pursued me into the present. This time I shall not be found wanting when I face them once more.
This way, sir, if you don't mind. Inspector Lestrade is waiting for you at the object.
Who else, besides Lestrade, knows about its existence?
Just the natives working on the underground extension. Irishmen mostly. They won't say anything. Special branch has already seen to that. They'll find all sorts down here. Old forgotten sewer systems, burial pits from the time of the Black Plague. London sits on ancient land, sir. You wouldn't believe half the things these excavations of the underground system are turning up. Still, I imagine no one's ever seen the likes of this down here before. Ah, Captain Soames, so glad you could join us. Thank you for fetching our guest, Thackeray, that will be all.
An erudite fellow, your Sergeant Thackeray.
Especially for a policeman? Is that what you meant? The gallant sergeant serves two masters, the London Metropolitan Police and your own employers at the Diogenes Club. Still, we all serve in our own way, do we not? So, what do you make of our little discovery? Quite something, isn't it?
Indeed. Quite extraordinary. You have any idea what exactly it is yet?
Not yet, although some of the boffins from the Royal Society believe it to be some kind of flying craft.
And you, I take it, do not concur with this notion?
Hardly. If it is supposed to fly, then where are its wings? No, sir. Even if mechanical flight were possible, then this thing could never take to the air.
Then you have a theory of your own, Inspector.
Of course. It is my belief that this object is some kind of submersible vessel. I believe the Germans are already experimenting with such a device. That water channel is the only way in here and leads out to the Thames. How else could the object have gotten in here, if not by water?
Then our killer, Spring Hill Jack, must be...
An agent provocateur, an agent of a foreign power, smuggled into this country aboard that craft and sent here to destabilise the Empire, spreading terror through its capital city.
Then you have proof that this is all a foreign plot.
Not yet. So far, we've been unable to find any means of access into the craft, but we don't have to. Our killer has collected all our evidence for us. We've already traced a number of these items to the victims at the scene of each of the murders.
Then what are we to make of this? Are we to assume that your agent provocateur is also a headhunter?
I'll admit there are still a number of questions to be answered. Still, I've sent for dynamite and blasting equipment. Once we've opened the object, we should be able to...
I'm afraid that won't be necessary, Lestrade. I'm invoking the authority of the Diogenes Club. As of now, this investigation is under my control as their appointed agent. You and your men will please dismantle your equipment and leave. I'll let you know if I need your assistance at any later point.
Captain Soames, I must protest.
Then I suggest, for what good it will do you, to take your protest to the Commissioner at Scotland Yard. But you and I both know who really controls the nation's affairs of state, and on whose ultimate authority I am acting. I want your men out of here, and the object left untouched. Our killer is clearly mobile, able to move around the city unseen, returning here only to add another trophy to his tally of kills.
Then you intend to set a trap? Say the word, Captain Soames. My men and I are at your disposal.
Thank you, Inspector, but again, I'm afraid that won't be necessary. I'll be handling this matter alone. That is the condition under which I first accepted this task. Jack and I have old scores to settle.
Let Lestrade believe what he wants. That some agent provocateur headhunter is loose in London. After all, can it be less fantastical than my own theory that a creature, a man-hunting demon from the legends of Hindu mythology, is abroad on the streets of London?
Here we are, sir. The largest bore weapon we have in stock, just as you requested.
A fine choice, sir, if you don't mind me saying so. The Stockton Harris elephant gun, capable of bringing down a charging bull elephant with one shot. Planning a spot of big game hunting, perhaps? A safari expedition to the Dark Continent?
Of sorts, although not Africa. Somewhere I fear, far closer to home. I'll take it. Also the shotguns. These 2 Webley revolvers, and a box of ammunition for everything. Solid bore shells, no buckshot or target rounds. I shall return later today to collect my purchases. You are familiar with the address on this card.
We have a standing account, sir. Diogenes Club.
Excellent. Then please forward your bill to them as normal. And need I remind you that, as always, the committee would appreciate your discretion regarding your involvement in this affair.
The creature had chosen its hiding place well. The waters of the Thames are unpredictable, and the underground passageway leading to its lair is submerged for most of the time. I cannot help but wonder, was this hiding place found by accident or design? London stands on ancient land, said Sergeant Thackeray, the servant of the Diogenes Club. Was he trying to tell me something they have known all along? Has this creature or others like it been here before? I think of the tales of spectral figures, hobgoblins, will-o'-wisps that have haunted us for centuries, and of more recent events in the city's bloody history. The Radcliffe Highway murders at the turn of the century, an entire household put to slaughter with the culprit never caught. What manner of creature is it, I wonder, that travelled here aboard this vessel? What kind of predator walks invisible amongst us, seeing the teeming inhabitants of this city as just so much prey for its blood sport? But there are others far more eminently qualified to answer such questions. I am but a soldier, and a soldier is trained to follow orders and to seek out and kill his country's enemies, wherever and whatever they may be.
God have mercy.
Injured and denied the refuge of its lair, the creature had fled back out towards the waters of the Thames. I knew I had lost my best chance of defeating it. Out in the open, in the infamous river, its stealth and mobility would give it the upper hand. For a second, I imagined it to be the voice of Nemesis. Nemesis, whom I abandoned to die back in India. But no. Nemesis is dead these last 15 years, and now I had allowed this thing to claim another good man. Thackeray, Diogenes' man on the London police force. The members of the committee must have sent him to watch over me. I believed I had failed, allowing my prey to escape into the London night. In reflection, I see now that I had misjudged my role in this affair from the very beginning. How blind I was to even consider myself the hunter in this chase, and the creature as my quarry. I had remembered an old trick picked up from my days of hill fighting in the Afghans. The surgeon's nightmare, we called it, scoring the points of our bullets to inflict a wound no surgeon could ever hope to heal. I fired 12 shots into the beast, counting at least 7 hits, and it still wasn't enough to fell it. What manner of creature was I facing? Perhaps that old Hindu Brahmin was right, and it truly was a demon, a Rakahasha, one of the race of evil gods cast out of Nirvana. And what kind of fool would that make me in even thinking I could defeat such a being? In India, in Bengal, the locals have a particularly dangerous way of hunting tigers. One of the warriors acts as human bait, leading the enraged beast into the hidden pit, waiting for it further up the trail. He must be fast and without fear. One misguided step, one moment of hesitation, and the beast will be upon him. The final test comes when he reaches the hidden pit, covered over with foliage and branches. If he is fleet and light enough, he can run across it without falling in. The tiger, far heavier, cannot. The only question, then, is whether the tiger will take the bait.
Come on, you black-hearted devil. I am here. That's the spirit. Go ahead and do it if you dare.
Nemesis drown, its weight dragging it down. Toward the end, it seemed to cease struggling and accept its fate. The mud pools here are deep, almost bottomless, and the river rarely gives up its prizes. I stood there for almost an hour. It didn't come back up. The tide was already starting to come back in. With any luck, its body would be carried out to sea and never recovered.
With any luck, its body would be carried out to sea and never recovered. I pray to God it is so, and that the committee and the Diogenes Club and I have no further business together. When they visited Captain Soames' rooms, our agents found him gone, with his journal lying open on the writing desk. Clearly, it was meant for us to read.
But there is still the issue of national security. Do we have any idea where Soames has gone?
India, most likely. We have tracked him to Southampton, where this morning he left on a ship bound for the Raj.
Then we could telegram ahead, have our people in Suez intercept the vessel before it passes through the canal.
No, he has discharged his duty to us, and done so admirably. Let him be, I say. And the creature's vessel? The object found in the sewers? What is to be done with that? Already safely aboard one of Her Majesty's ships, where it will be secretly taken out to sea and jettisoned over the side. In time, it may have been possible that our scientists could have unlocked its secrets, but we must weigh the advantages of such an undertaking against all possible hazards. We know these creatures have been here before. We know they shall come again. We have defeated them once. Let us not tempt fate by incurring their wrath any further. The British Empire has many enemies. Why risk making one more? No, the matter ends here. Soames has seen to it they will trouble us no further. After all, the world is a large place, and I am certain they can find more fertile hunting grounds further afield than here.